Yo, what up YouTube? KGCEpic here. So, I got a fucking question for you guys real quick. Do graphics actually matter in a game? At the end of the day, if you're playing a game, the visuals, the amount of details in your character, does that shit actually matter in terms of like legitimately judging a game? I personally, I would tell you that graphics do not matter, and I would tell you from my personal opinion that if you're a person, you're a gamer, and you think that graphics matter, that you're full of fucking shit. That at the end of the day, you're not a you're not a fucking pro gamer. I have played games from like the bottom of the barrel right up to the top where the cream is fucking good and it's cherry flavored. I have played games from fucking that. So I don't even know where the fucking graphics thing comes out. Because we're at a point in this day and age, gaming is taking a turn where it's like graphics, especially since 4K dropped. Graphics. I'm just praying that the gameplay isn't trash for like most of the games that are going to be coming out these days, because I find myself sometimes I'm bored, and if I go through my gaming list and I have to replay a game, I sometimes find myself replaying the old 2011, 2012 games over the games that I have for 2014, 2015. And I'm wondering to myself, is it because they are like hyping the graphics too much that the gameplay is lacking in certain qualities to the point where you don't go back to the game? Like sometimes you complete a game and you don't go back to it. Yeah, that kind of shit. I was wondering, if the game developers are going really graphic oriented at this point, because we're at a point where you're seeing the pores on people's skin, you're seeing the hair on their skin blowing if you zoom in on them. We're at a point where it's like that. Honestly, you're seeing them breathing, you're feeling their heartbeat through your headphones. That's the point where we are in terms of graphics. And if you ask like any person that just they just sit down and they watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, I always say, you're not a gamer if you watch people playing games. You're not a gamer if you watch people playing games. You're a spectator. That's not gaming. That's called fucking spectating. So if you ask people like that, they're gonna say, "Oh, look at the graphics and the graphics and the graphics." I don't think the graphics should be hyped that much, honestly, because if you're a gamer like me and you have been gaming since you got a computer, like honestly, I remember that on our island, we live in a small island, man, a real small island, 7 miles long, 3 miles wide. Its name is Carriacou, a Grenadine island of Grenada in the Caribbean, right? Uh, my house was one of the first houses on this island to get a PC, right? Like we had that big cathode ray tube monitor, the big CRT monitors that give off the excess radiation, and you have to like have the screen protectors for it, and all that sort of shit, and the big ass CPUs, and you're popping if you have quarter gig of RAM, you're the shit with quarter gig of RAM, that sort of shit, you know. Uh, I have been playing games since I was like 4 or 5 years old. Honestly, like computer games since I was like 4 or 5 years old. I started out. I remember the first game I ever played was Minesweeper, and I remember that I played Minesweeper, and I couldn't win. I couldn't win, and I remember my cousin. She was playing Minesweeper and she actually won. And you see the sun get the fucking sunglasses, and you're like, whoa, she actually won Minesweeper. Holy shit, that sort of shit. And all that sort of thing. I was wondering, like, when you're talking to me, you're talking to someone who have played games at like triple digits, maybe quadra, in terms of the amount of games that I have played. So you can't come and tell me some shit about gaming, right? And these days, like my friend likes to watch a lot of YouTube gaming videos, and if I ask him if the graphics matter, he says yes. If you tell him that the graphics doesn't matter, he is complaining, and he's going to actually put up an argument and tell you that the graphics matter. It's all about the graphics. It's the graphics draws people in. Look at the graphics there, and look at the graphics there. Look at the graphics there, and look at the graphics there. When you have so much fucking graphics and that shit, you always have to keep upgrading your PC. You can't run like the anti what is it pronounced as? I always pronounce it wrong. I know I pronounce it wrong. Anti some shit. It goes times 2, times 8 times 16. There's a times 4 times 2 times 4 times 8 times 16. I always pronounce it wrong. I'm trying to get the pronunciation right. I'll Google that shit. I'll come back to you guys on that fucking pronunciation next time I have a gaming video. But anyways, if you want to times 16 that, max out your graphics and everything on games that are running now, you have to have at least an NVIDIA 1050. If you don't have an NVIDIA 1050, you can't do that shit. You can't even run 4K if you don't have an NVIDIA 1050 at least. Bare minimum, an NVIDIA 1050. If you don't have that shit, you can't run 4K at this point, you know? And I always find myself going back to playing the old school games rather than the new school games. Anytime I'm bored and I don't have a game to play, I always find myself going back to the old school, Like, I find myself playing GTA San Andreas over GTA 5. And I don't know why. It's just something nostalgic about San Andreas. Like, you know every little trick in San Andreas to a point where when you touch down in San Andreas, right? You know that you run past 2 buildings and you take this corner and you go through this alley and you go up this path and you're gonna find this here and you're gonna find that there. I like that shit sometimes, you know I like shit like that. I remember when GTA 5 dropped, it was like so fucking realistic that some people was complaining that you could die from bathing in hot water and all that sort of shit. But anyways, we're not talking about like how realistic the gameplay is. We're talking about the graphics right now. Does the graphics really matter? And are game developers taking a turn where they're going so graphic oriented that the gameplay is lacking sometimes, to the point where I find myself playing old school games more than new school games if I have to go back to a game. I don't know if that's the case for some people, because graphics don't matter. It's all about the gameplay. It's all about the storyline, how you deliver the storyline. It's all about how at the end of the day, if it's combat mechanics, depending on what kind of game you're playing, what kind of combat mechanics. If it's a shooter game, reload time, actual guns. Do the guns actually shoot differently? Do the guns actually deal different damage? You know, this sort of stuff is what makes a game and not like the graphics and all that sort of shit. But you know, I find these days like a lot of gamers say it's about the graphics and the graphics and the graphics. But if you hype in the graphics, you're not like a gamer. Because if like you want to play role like RPGs or some MMORPGs, and I would tell you that, truth be told, most of the games that I play, like my best set of games, aren't graphic oriented. Like the games that really come to life in terms of like gameplay and they really deliver. They're able to put in like that extra shit, put in extra stuff in the game because they're not hyping the graphics as much. I would tell you that, you know, like for example, I'll give you a perfect example. Now, I don't play Minecraft, right? I don't play Minecraft. I used to play Minecraft, but I got tired of that shit. I got tired of Minecraft, man. Minecraft is a perfect example of a game that isn't graphic oriented and it's super popular. Now, if you want to bring up a topic where you say that a game has to be graphic oriented for it to be out there, you know, but the reason why I even made this video is because like some people, even me right now, I have to upgrade. I have to upgrade my PC right now because I can't 4K. I can't play certain games right now. You know, the laptop that I had was a Dell Inspiron 3521, which was like a really good laptop back in like 2012 or something like that. But you know, that shit ain't fly now. That shit can't play certain games now, you know. So I'm upgrading to an Alienware R417. So I'm trying to see if I can get one with the Nvidia 1080 Ti, so I don't even have to worry about like, you know, running certain games and whatever. I was like wondering, I was like debating whether I should go 16 gigs of RAM or 32 gigs, because a lot of people say 16 gigs is enough, but I'm wondering, is 16 gigs really enough, or can you actually have too much RAM? If you're gaming, especially if you're gaming, can you actually have too much RAM, especially with the graphics they're dropping these days, you know? So I'm going for that 4K. I'm going for a good 4K laptop right now, and I prefer for my gaming PC, I prefer a laptop over a desktop, honestly, because you know, if you want to go to a friend and game, if you want to do something, I like the little mobility that, you know, those laptops have. Even if it's a heavy ass laptop that weighs like 15 pounds at the end of the day, even if it's a laptop like that, it still has more mobility than a desktop, you know. So I prefer the laptop, and honestly, laptops are delivering really good these days. They are right up there with desktops at this point, you know. So I was just like wondering if like the graphics thing is really necessary. It looks good. It looks good to play a game with really sweet graphics, but you know, I've played a few games that, you know, they are combat mechanics. I've noticed in some MMORPGs, even in some action-based games, that the combat mechanics are a bit slower than they were back in the days. I've noticed that, and I don't know if it's because due to the fact that they're pumping in more graphics in the game that they actually have to slow down the speed of the combat mechanics a little bit, but that makes the game a little bit like less tasteful. It makes it more bland, it makes it more boring. Honestly, I like fast-paced combat mechanics. I like you're playing a game, and if your hand slips off the keyboard, if you have like 1.2 seconds to time this thing perfectly, or if you don't time it perfectly, you're gonna take damage, you're gonna die. I like fucking games like that. I like games that keep me on edge. That's pro gaming. I can't deal with the fucking stupid slow-paced gaming. I even played some action-paced MMORPGs, and their combat mechanics are so slow. And you would think that action-based games, especially MMORPG games, would have the fastest combat mechanics. I remember, I would say the fastest combat mechanics that I had in a game, and it was a target-based game, was Fly for Fun. Because I remember you could cap your speed on type Fly for Fun at 300 speed. And if you have 300 speed and your attack speed is capped at 100, you move so fast. You can hit every mob. I remember, if you guys know the grind, and I don't even have to mention Fly for Fun. I can mention other games too. I'll give you an example of another game that has really good combat mechanics, and compared to the games now, the combat mechanics is kind of shitty. Let me think. I'm trying to remember the name of this game. It wasn't a mainstream game. It wasn't a game that was too mainstream because I think the storyline was a bit short. But I can't remember it. I can't remember. It was a really, really old game. And sometimes I'm sitting back, like I'm trying to remember my fucking old games, and I can't remember my old games, the old games I used to play. But it was a game that I used to play because like my computer was shitty. I always had like a computer that was never up to date in terms of the generation of gaming that was occurring. So I was always playing outdated games. I'm still always playing fucking outdated games until I get my Alienware PC. But anyways, um uh, command mechanics are being slow. I think command mechanics are slow. I think that at the end of the day, a person shouldn't have to drop $2,000 to play a fucking game. And you still have to buy the game on Steam. I think that shouldn't be the case. Most people can't drop $2,000 on a laptop and get that, get an Alienware, or get one of those, pro laptops. I know Asus has a really good 4K laptop. I know the HP Omen dropped a 4K. Like the HP Omen is a 4K, but it's not like that thing. I wouldn't say it's a gaming laptop per se. There are a few that I did check out, but the Alienware is the one that won me over. But the price is pretty high. But you could build your own computer too. That's another thing. But I just rather buy it. Fuck it. Anyways, so in terms of like graphics and all that sort of shit, you guys tell me what you guys think. And honestly, is your favorite game really high in graphics? Like the best game you ever played? Is it really graphic oriented, or is it more gameplay oriented? I mean, of course, we have the games that deliver both. Like if you play games like Witcher and that sort of stuff, those games are both graphic oriented and gameplay oriented, and they keep it lively. If you're able to if you play the game how it should be played, because some people don't play the game how they should be played, and they play it in a very bland, straightforward manner. It comes to life. But there are a lot of games that don't come to life as much. And like I said, for some MMORPGs these days, especially the action-based ones that are hype on a lot of graphics these days, I have noticed that the combat speed is slowing down, and it is stupid. Like even for fighting some of the bosses, you can dodge, you can evade, you double tap forward, double tap side, double tap the arrow keys for evasion, right? And when the boss is attacking, you literally see the boss. I mean, like, what the fuck? I remember, I'll give you a perfect example of a game like Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter Tri. I used to play Monster Hunter Tri religiously. Up until farming freaking meteor weapons in when you fight both Uruk and Agnak at the same time. I remember playing Monster Hunter Tri, and the combat mechanics was so fucking fast paced. Especially with the boss. You had the bosses, you had the minions, and all that shit. And you can't even catch a fucking break. You have to like run and this and that and whatever, And that is a good RPG, honestly. Monster Hunter is a good adventure RPG. And all that sort of shit. But I'm actually looking forward to Monster Hunter Worlds, as I'm talking about Monster Hunters. Actually, that game is going to be so fucking epic. I lost my voice for that game. I lost my voice for that game. So, anyways, yeah, tell me what you guys think, and tell me if you guys really think that gaming should be more graphic oriented, or if they should just like don't hype the graphics so much. Not because it's a new year means you need new graphics. Try to improve gameplay. Try to have something more unique. If you play Call of Duty, for example, Call of Duty doesn't even have anything that unique in terms of a shooter. I rather play honestly. And I will tell you this: Battlefield 1, awesome shooter. They really stood out with like certain things, right? But I would rather play sci-fi shooters than freaking the regular shooters that a lot of people play, like a Call of Duty and those. I rather play like MMO sci-fi shooters, honestly, because those sci-fi shooters, they stand out. And at the end of the day, I was just wondering what you guys thought about it, because for the sci-fi shooters, there's more versatility, there's more diversity, and you don't have to worry about graphics. And another thing is, when you're playing MMO games, you want a huge community. A huge community in an MMO game helps so much. It's not even funny. It's not even funny. Because I remember sometimes, and I'm going back to Fly for Fun, because Fly for Fun was like my go-to MMO for a long time. I was playing like games alongside Fly for Fun. I would like play Fly for Fun and then stop to play other games to go back to Fly for Fun, right? So I could give you like personal experience of a lot of Fly for Fun. I remember that sometimes when you go in a town, your computer sticks from so much people being there. There would be so much people in a town. I remember there was like thousands of players in a town at some point in time. And some people were advised not to blink, not to like they called it blinking in the game, but teleport straight into the town. Fly outside the town and then run into the town rather than teleport straight into the town, because your computer will actually stick. And that sort of shit. That is the fun that I'm talking about in MMO games, that we lose sometimes when we're too graphic oriented, especially in MMO games, because some people have old school PCs, and if they can't run your game, then they're not on the server and they don't add to the server. So that sort of stuff. And I don't see, I see the games upgrading, but I don't see the gameplay upgrading as I would like to see it. Because even in the shooters like Battlefield 1 and stuff, in most Call of Duty games, the only thing different between it and like a previous version or other Call of Duty version is just like one level in the game where it's different. Like, I remember I owned Call of Duty Black Ops for Wii, and I know I had a Wii. I'm embarrassed that I had a Wii. But at the end of the day, the Wii just dropped. I mean, my sister asked what I wanted for my birthday, and I said a Wii instead of a PlayStation. I know. I didn't drink bleach. No, I didn't drink the bleach from asking for that Wii over the PlayStation. But anyways, so I had Call of Duty Black Ops for Wii, and I remember that the only thing that really stood out in that game, there weren't even much levels that were different from the other Call of Duty games, other than the terrain. Other than the terrain, they weren't even like that much different. I remember you could have used a crossbow in one level, and uh, I think there's a helicopter stage, and that's about it. That's about it. Other than that, it's just underground shooting. At the end of the day, I mean, there's not much you could do with a soldier at the end of the day, but you could mix it up, man. You could do like other shit. You could be weird with it sometimes, fucking stand out with certain shit. I mean, Destiny is a good example of like a game that kind of changed up, the shooter vibe a little bit. Even Titanfall with like the mechs, you're calling for the mechs, and you could still go on the ground and still fight the mechs and all that sort of stuff. It's not like a pure mech game or a pure person shooter game. But they weren't original with the jetpacks. I've played fight shooter games with jetpacks before. Like I remember I played a game called Genesis that had jetpacks and wall climbs and shooting and stuff. Once again, it's a sci-fi shooter, and that game was fucking hot. That game was awesome when the servers were hot. When the server was hot, that game was the shit for sure. Honestly, I've played like a good bit of games. I would say for racing games, fine. I'll give you that for racing games. improve the graphics of racing games, because you're driving in a car, not much you could do. You jump out 2 ramps, you drift, you this, you that. If you want like real world games, then fine. But if you're going into like sci-fi and fantasy, like Final Fantasy, like we had a Final Fantasy discussion. I was playing Summoners War the other day, before I quit, because I quit Summoners War because I know the game was crashing too much, and it was getting on my nerves. So I decided to quit Summoners War, even though things just started to get good with me and Summoners War in terms of like my monsters and stuff. But we were having a discussion with Final Fantasy, and people were saying that the Final Fantasies they're playing nowadays is not as good. Some people say they would even prefer playing the GBA Final Fantasies over the Final Fantasies that you're playing nowadays. And I was like, really? You would rather the GBA Final Fantasies? And they're like, yeah, it's retro, it's old school. Some people are into that shit, but at the end of the day, even one person, like I said that the last Final Fantasy was 12, and a lot of people agreed that 12 was like the last good one. All the others were trash. And I remember when I watched Final Fantasy, it was just getting higher and higher in graphics, higher and higher in graphics, higher and higher in graphics. You got to keep your storyline legit. You got to keep it awesome, and I try to avoid repetition. Try to avoid redundancy, especially like if like a part that is like come out now is similar to a part that came out like 5-6 years ago. While the average person wouldn't notice this, people who hype over that game would notice that shit. Now I'm not saying that's how it is with Final Fantasy, but I know it's sometimes like cases in terms of other games and all that sort of stuff, right? So yeah, and just that sort of stuff. So I was wondering what you guys thought about the whole graphics thing, because I honestly don't think that graphics should be the main thing in terms of games. I think what really delivers a game properly is first and foremost, the tutorial in the game should show you. It should be brief. It should show you how the game should be played, and the gameplay should be smooth, everything should be nice. At the end of the day, it's about the storyline, it's about the gameplay, it's about how versatile certain things is in terms of like what you're trying to deliver, because people like versatility in a game. They like having those different options and not like having to go down this one stereotypical road, one stereotypical path in a game. Well, for me personally, because I like MMORPGs and that sort of stuff. So guys, be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and tell me what you guys think about whether you think that games nowadays should be graphic oriented, or whether or not they should keep going with the graphics until it's more real life than real life, and we're at a point where it's lacking in certain areas. Some people are not noticing this shit. So tell me what you guys think about that. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. Like I said, it helps with my channel. Be sure to check out my other videos. I always leave a link for my Twitter and my Facebook in the description, and as usual, stay awesome, people.